Imagine living inside an empire where every whisper could be heard, every letter you wrote, read by invisible eyes, every conversation you had in the marketplace, reported back to the palace by nightfall. This was not a dystopian novel. This was the Ottoman Empire, and it had one of the most sophisticated intelligence networks the world had emphasis ever seen. Centuries before the CIA, centuries before MI6, centuries before any modern spy agency ever existed, they were called the Hafia. And today, we pull back the curtain on the shadow state that watched over and controlled the greatest empire of its age. To understand the Hafia, we first need to understand the world they operated in. The Ottoman Empire, at its peak in the 16th century, stretched across 3 continents. From the gates of Vienna to the shores of the Persian Gulf, it controlled the lives of over 30 million people of different faiths, languages, and cultures. Holding such a vast empire together required more than armies and tax collectors. It acquired information. Who was plotting a rebellion? Which governor was taking bribes? Which religious leader was stirring up unrest? The answer came in the form of a network so secretive, so deeply embedded in everyday Ottoman life, that even the most powerful men in the empire could never be certain who around them was reporting back to the Sultan. The word hafiye comes from the Arabic root meaning hidden or concealed. These were not soldiers in uniform carrying swords. They were merchants, scholars, dervishes, and servants. Ordinary faces pause in extraordinary roles. The network operated on 3 fundamental levels. First, the palace informants, servants, eunuchs, and concubines within the walls of Topkapi itself. These individuals reported on the private behaviors and conversations of the Sultan's own household. No one was immune, not even the Sultan's own family. Second, the city informants, embedded within the bazaars, coffee houses, and mosques of Istanbul. The coffee house, in particular, was a hotbed of political conversation. People spoke freely there, perhaps too freely, because among the customers sitting quietly in the corner, sipping coffee and listening, was often a Hafiye agent. Third, and perhaps most remarkably, the provincial agents, dispatched across the empire's vast territories, from Egypt to Anatolia, from Anatolia to the Balkans. These men monitored local governors, tribal leaders, and foreign diplomats, sending encoded messages, carried by trusted couriers, directly to Istanbul. The entire empire was watching itself. But what happened? When the intelligence was turned inward, not against enemies of the state, but against the state's own rulers, Sultan Selim II, who ruled in the latter half of the 16th century, became so consumed by paranoia that he reportedly had Hafiya agents monitoring his own grand viziers. More than one powerful Ottoman statesman fell from grace not because of any crime, but because an informant's report reached the Sultan's ears first. But the most chilling chapter came during the reign of Sultan Abdulhamid II in the late 19th century. By this point, the Ottoman Empire was crumbling. Abdulhamid responded by expanding the intelligence apparatus to an almost industrial scale. He reportedly employed tens of thousands of informants across the empire. Journalists, teachers, military officers. All watched, all monitored. Dissidents disappeared. Newspapers were censored. Even the mention of certain words was enough to land a man in prison. His reign became known, in hushed tones, as the era of slow zulum, meaning oppression. And yet, here's the profound irony. Abdulhamid, the master architect of this surveillance state, was eventually overthrown in 1909 by the very officers his network had failed to detect. The Young Turks had organized. Right under his nose. Historians today note that the Ottoman intelligence system was, in many ways, more sophisticated than anything operating in Europe at the same time. And the parallels to our own world are impossible to ignore. Every government today, democratic or authoritarian, maintains some form of intelligence apparatus. The tools have changed, the scale has changed, but the fundamental question remains the same. Who watches the watchers? The Ottoman Hafiye. For all its efficiency, ultimately could not save the empire. Secrets were kept, but not forever. Shadows concealed, but not everything. And when the light finally came, it came swiftly. The Ottoman Empire kept its secrets for 600 years, some of them we are still uncovering today. History is rarely written by those who lived it openly. More often, it is written in the margins, in the reports of informants, the whispers of servants, and the coded letters of men who never signed their names. This was Ottoman Secrets, and we have only just begun. If you want to know what the palace walls were still hiding, subscribe and stay close, because every week we unlock a new secret, Ottoman Secrets.